Veronica, can we have the roll, please? Barry?
Here.
Brooks?
Here.
Priscilla? Harris?
Here.
Markham?
Here.
Eustace? Ogalla? Summers? Trainier? Van Dyne?
Here.
And we have a quorum. Thank you. The pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have approval of minutes from the Executive Committee of June 6th.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Executive Committee from June 13th.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then we had the executive session from, is that an error? Executive session, Executive Committee, June 13th again.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then we had the reconsidered minutes from May 9th Committee of the Whole. And that was because of change in the language. I think that, question, Mike?
Order on that. How do we vote on something that's not from this committee?
You always approve the committee of the whole minutes here at this committee.
Oh, because of this committee?
Yes.
We don't have the committee of the whole.
Yeah, so we can't do the minutes there.
The difference is that Mrs. Ogalla had mentioned, this was regarding the Greener Region Compact discussion, and she had said Payne County permits easement purchases, and it was typed in as prohibits. So since it made a complete difference, we needed to bring them back.
Yeah, part of the difference.
So we made a correction. So as amended, motion to approve.
Approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. No old business, so moving to the new business, we need to have a public hearing for an amendment to the 5-year consortium consolidated plan.
Motion to go on the public hearing.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
We will call on that.
Ferry?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Frizzalone?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Eustace? Ogalla?
Yes.
Trainier?
Yes.
Van Dyne?
Yes.
And when for you are public hearing. Thank you. Ron?
Good morning, everybody. You have before you...
Turn the mic over.
That's okay.
Twist the star, twist the star. There you go.
We got all
There
kinds
you
of things
go.
we need to do.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. The process that we're going through right now is required by HUD. Anytime we propose an amendment to our existing consolidated plan and the dollar value is $200,000 or more, we're required to have a public hearing to discuss the changes. And we have before you 3 changes. This is reallocating existing funds that have been that are being proposed to be reallocated on 3 projects. We have an opportunity to hear from the public, from those communities that these amendments affect, and also from the board. Basically, we have the first project is a reallocation of funding to owner-occupied rehab program for $65,000 that is operated by the Senior Services Center of Will County. The second project is a water system improvement in the village of New Lenox for $165,000. And then finally, this is a project that's been long-standing. We've been working in Fairmont for a number of years. And previously, this board has allocated funding for a drainage improvement system, and we've been working on that. However, in the last 6 months or 10 months, we've discovered that there's a different, more urgent need to improve the water system, the drinking water system. So we've been negotiating with the city of Joliet to take on that responsibility and provide water to Fairmont. And we've discussed this at the advisory board and also at the county board, and there's a proposal to reallocate money from the drainage project to the water project in the amount of $500,000. We have representatives from all three, New Lenox, I believe, Senior Services, and from the city of Joliet to discuss these projects and also to answer any questions that you might have. Yes, sir.
I see a hand right here.
I'm just going to maybe just have you give me a little bit more of an explanation. I think I understand it, but I want to make it clear. In the case of Fairmont, we've already allocated funds to try to address some drainage conditions there. So what you're saying is that the water project is probably at this point in time a little bit more important or pressing, or a little bit more urgent.
That's correct.
So we're going to take the money that was already allocated for drainage and just move it over
Right.
to the water project.
That's correct.
Currently, they're all on their own wells, correct?
They have a private water, well, they have a water system that's operated by the township.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
They're on private wells.
No,
And we
no,
have a well situation there at one time?
we do, and those wells are essentially in bad shape. And the township has been looking to vacate that responsibility and sell the system to a private water company. And this has been the discussion that we've had for.
By the way, I think it's a great thing that Joliet would take over the
I think it is
water.
too.
It's a great, my concern is what are you going to do with these old wells? In the past, we had some resistance about those wells getting capped and so forth. Can the health department just come in and close those wells?
Well,
You know,
part of,
or are they private wells?
no, there may be some private wells, but we have Allison here from the city of Joliet to discuss
Is that going to be part of the project?
Yes, it is.
Joliet will cap off those wells?
Press the star, Allison.
I just want to make sure that kind of all the ducks are in the wall. I know.
Press it one more time. Like,
Sure, somebody
there you
else is
go.
Hi, I'm Allison Swisher, Director of Public Utilities for the City of Joliet. So the existing wells at the Fairmont system, they have 2 wells, and those would not be utilized under the, once Joliet acquires ownership. And as part of the funding that would be received through the county, those would be abandoned per all health department standards.
Yeah. And then the only other question, so then folks in Fairmont will get water bills from the city of Joliet. For sanitary is still something that's still out there, correct?
No, the city would be acquiring both the water and sewer
And
system.
sanitary,
Yes,
okay.
yes. Currently, the wastewater already goes into the city of Joliet for treatment, 2/3 of it does.
Okay.
So we would just assume ownership and maintenance and operation responsibilities for the actual pipes.
And then the individual homeowners will be billed like...
Yes, they would be billed like any other,
At the
Joliet.
same rate as any other resident of Joliet.
Well, because they're not within the corporate limits, there would be a non-resident rate.
There's an non-resident.
Other questions? Jackie?
I was just curious, how old are their service pipes for water? I know a lot of the sewer stuff's been replaced or in the process of, but I just wondered how old their pipes for water were. I've been reading with chagrin, I guess, what's going on in Chicago when they're replacing pipes and they're finding problems, and maybe the replacement is causing the problem. So I don't know, but wondered.
Yeah, the water and sewer system in Fairmont was constructed in the 70s, and there are issues that have been occurring in Chicago with water main replacement just due to the lead water service lines, but there is not lead water service lines in Fairmont.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I would like to add that we have invested over $1.5 million in the storm sewer system, and we're not abandoning that system, but we're at a standstill right now with that project. So we're going to be back to the county board for additional funding to keep both projects going, the storm sewer and the water. So this is a long-term, probably a 5 to 6 year commitment, but this $500,000 that we're asking to be reallocated is the initial phase, which is going to help the city get on this project almost immediately. So we're excited by the fact that the city of Joliet has been willing, has stepped up to solve this problem, primarily because of the impact it has on the individual households in the community. So the money is well used.
Brooks?
Now, this public hearing for all three of them together?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is FYI, I just wanted to add, the money for the senior services of Will County, the Work at Home project has really grown, expanded, and varied, and Mr. Brophy here can comment on if they like, but that has really, really expanded. So this money, as you know, Ron, will be very, very important and helpful to that program that they have going as well. Thank you.
That's correct. I think it surprised not only the Senior Services Center, but also us at the extent of need that has been uncovered. So in addition to the $65,000, now we've been funding this project for the last couple of years. This allocation of $65,000 is just a temporary allocation. You're going to be reviewing another resolution for the new funding coming up, and we are again going to invest money in that project. So the $65,000 is just what we had available right for them now.
And I'm a senior, so I need it. So thank you. Thank you, Ron.
Other questions about the seniors, Jim?
Yeah, you know, sometimes whether it's Will County Senior Services or other type of organizations, you know, my concern is that, you know, is there really an appropriate effort or an effort that's good enough, let's just say good enough for outreach. You know, many of these types of initiatives tend to stay geographically in small areas. And that's a concern of mine, because I would tell you, especially when it comes to seniors, there are seniors all over this county that live below the poverty line or right at the poverty line, or 1 times above the poverty line. And I'm not so sure those folks ever really, as I reach out to those folks, you know, whether they live in Frankfurt or Bolingbrook or Naperville, they exist. So,
Well, I think maybe...
So my concern is, Ron, is that this money does not get outside of certain areas. And so I'd like to see what the initiatives are to reach out to all our seniors and throughout this county, and how it's done. You know,
So
I believe you came out and visited me once up in Frankfurt Township. You know, but I'm just saying that you know, part of our connection with Will County Senior Services for many years was the nutrition program, which you no longer do. And that was how I thought it would move over and outreach throughout the county, and so we could communicate and we would see each other occasionally. But, you know, on a local basis, I have to say I haven't seen senior services out by me for some time.
So we have Barry Kalinowski here, who is the Director of Senior Services. Barry?
Thank you, Councilman. That's a great question, and actually, when I came in 2015, it was the first thing I noticed that in the name was Senior Services Center of Will County, but they were so Joliet-centric, and that concerned me. We opened our first satellite office in Moni. We started there. That was back when they were in financial difficulty. We opened up a satellite office out there to immediately drop anchor on the concept of reaching all the way across Will County. And since then, we've opened up offices. We've got 5 satellite offices, again, covering Will County. But to answer your question specifically, what we have done is we use events and programs that we take out to the county-wide. So our case managers who work with seniors that the unsung heroes, people. I mean, Reverend Brooks was one of those case managers back when they used a burro to get from place to place, but
Go get a bait.
But those case managers, last year, we engaged 18,000 seniors, and that's countywide. And and our case managers who are in the homes of seniors are not just in Joliet, they are across the county. They take the message of this program. And one of our biggest, and maybe you've seen the photograph of the house out in Monee that we had to, it was unbelievably bad. The couple of both seniors, she was confined to a wheelchair, and in their home they had no roof over half of their house and went through a winter with a blue tarp covering the rafters on that house. It was unbelievable to think people could actually live like this. But we have code enforcement contacting us, we take materials out, and we do engage people everywhere in Will County.
If I can just make one other comment, I would say then you need to do further, I think, outreach, especially in those areas that you don't think there's poor seniors. And I can tell you that in Frankfort Township, we worked more and had better results with the Center Community Concerns. Sure. When it comes to seniors and some housing issues, where they might have a hole in the roof, or they got animals running through their house, kids with, they got 95 cat raccoons in their house or whatever. But, I can just tell you from a township perspective, we kind of reach out. And I'm also the Frankfort Township Supervisor, as everybody here knows, so I deal with this pretty much on a regular basis. And quite frankly, we've never really thought about reaching out to senior services. We reach out to, not that we haven't called senior services, I asked them sometimes for something. Sure. And they did help us one time, so I don't want to, but we had to reach out. So, but even letting townships know, and other organizations or governmental bodies, municipalities, that if you have a senior that's in this predicament, that they can call you. So reach out just as to the individual seniors, and seniors who are in this predicament tend to be shut-ins. They don't leave the house. They don't go to the local meetings, I mean, so they're pretty hard to reach. But as we, reaching out to other local organizations and the government, I think is another area that maybe you can do another attempt at.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we can always do more. We hear
Believe me, I'll hear about waiting for you.
Exactly, and we do get calls from townships.
I know you do.
Yeah, because they have an issue with this. And we actually work with community services in several collaborations on some of these projects. They can help pay for materials, which protects the amount that we have to withdraw from any kind of county support. So we protect that pool very aggressively, but we do work with those guys as well because they can help us connect. Yes, that's great.
We may not do it directly, but we'll donate to the services.
That's great. Thank you.
Well, other questions for Barry?
I'd just like to make a comment about the program in general. I think one of the things that we're acutely aware of is the fact that when we start a program, we have to be very cautious on how we implement the program, because sometimes we could be flooded with need and not be able to address it, and that's one of the concerns that we've had in discussing with Barry and Mick especially. Mick Brophy is the point person who goes out and actually does the evaluation. I said the worst thing that we could do is overpromise and underdeliver. So we're very aware of keeping this program within control of both the capacity that the agency has and it's our reputation, the county's reputation, and the senior services reputation at stake. If you say that you're going to do something and then 6 months later you get around to doing it, that's not a good feeling that seniors have. So that's one of the reasons why we're asking for the additional money right now, because I think right now the coffers are dry, and this is going to buy them some time until the fall when more money comes in. So.
I can just make a comment around you know, I don't buy into that, quite frankly. To say, well, we're not gonna see what the real need is because we can't deliver. I mean, that's about, it came across to me. I'm not so sure that's what you meant.
No, that's not what.
But what I'm saying is that, you know, that we should try to help everybody. And tell them there's limited resources, of course, you know, but there's other resources we can look for, whether it's saying, okay, we can help, but we need people to help share some of the costs, or whatever. You know, it sounds, when it came across to me, like you almost want to press what the need is. I know that wasn't your intent. I'm just telling you how it came across to me. You should choose your words carefully. I want to know every senior that's in need, even if we can't deliver to them right now. Because otherwise, how can I work on it? Right?
Any other questions for Ron? There are the 3 items in the public hearing, so if you have questions on any of them.
New Lenox is asking for assistance in delivering water to 33 households that are low income. I'm not sure if anybody's here from the village in New Lenox, but this was unallocated.
Oh, this was just unallocated?
Yeah.
It's not being moved?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay. All right. Fine.
Motion to close public hearing.
Any comments from the public or questions? Comments or questions? Comments or questions from the public? Motion is in order,
Motion to
Mike.
close.
Second.
Roll call. Barry?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Frizalone?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Markham?
Yes.
Mustis?
Yes.
Ocala?
Yes.
Trainier?
Yes.
Van Dyne?
Yes.
And Winfrey, you are out of public hearing. Thank you. Okay, so number 1, that was the, proposing a substantial amendment to the Will County 5-year consortium consolidated plan and the 2016-2018 program new action plans for reallocation of CDBG grant funds. Motion to approve.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Then proposing a substantial amendment to the Will County 5-year consortium consolidated plan.
Number 3.
3. Oh, sorry. Proposing the adoption of the program year 2019 action plan beginning October 1st through September 30th, 2020.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, so number 4, then amending chapter 110. Do we need a public hearing for that one?
No, I believe that's happening at the county board.
Okay. Amending alcoholic, the chapter 110, which amends alcoholic beverages to the Will County Code of Ordinances under liquor control.
Just had a question. On A, it says, form memo to amend ordinance to class Seigal, May 2019. It makes it sound like the class is Seigal.
I think that's a
It's typed.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
it just seemed odd to me.
it should not say
Because
Seigal.
the memo doesn't say that, so, yeah. Just was curious.
I believe it should say actuary.
I think it's just.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
probably a typo, is there?
Yeah.
Okay, all
So
right. I just want to make sure.
I apologize, I didn't catch
No
that.
worries. I just want to make sure that we have it worded out.
Yeah, I do have a question on this, and the reason I'm bringing it up now, I think it's better to bring it up in committee than bring it up in the county board. Now I understand that that this particular applicant still is not in compliance with the zoning ordinance. So, are we working on that? I mean, can somebody comment on that? Because until they're in compliance, I don't think we should be issuing a liquor license for them. I mean,
Jenny? Thank you.
So just to give you an update on where Mr. Seigal stands working towards compliance on his special use permit conditions, We had staff members go out there last week and meet with him and tour the site. They looked at the different buildings, because as you may recall, one of the conditions was that he needed to get permits for each of the structures that were built without permits. So he has submitted one of those permits. He will be submitting the other permits. So right now he's working towards compliance. I could answer any other questions you might have.
But he won't be in compliance by next Thursday, will he?
No, I would say no.
So my point is until he's in compliance, I think it should be tabled, a law.
So-
He's in compliance.
Just to clarify, if I may, Madam Speaker, this, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is adding an additional license. Currently, the amount of licenses that are available for ag tourism are 0. So this will increase that number to 1. That does not automatically mean that Mr. Seigal is going to get that license. The liquor commissioner then is the person, AKA county executive, is then the person that would issue that license based on him being complete and his file being complete.
And that there was a
I understand
license
that,
available.
but I'm still going to say, as we all know, we've asked, and I'm looking down the future. I mean, you have to be in compliance, and I understand the executive's office will not, or doesn't have to issue the permit until they're in total compliance. I'm just saying that if this board put on conditions for perhaps adding that license, then we should make sure that it's in compliance with what we initiated or said these are the conditions. So
I think two things are happening here. One is the addition of a license or making a license available, and the other is issuing a license based on compliance. All we're doing here is making a license available in that particular category. It is not being issued to anyone and not being made available to that person unless they become compliant.
well,
And Jim, I'll let you speak to that.
let's be clear.
I mean, that's true. You're the legislative body. You deal with the classifications, the numbers. We're the administrative end. We review the application. This has a little more tentacles than the normal application because, we get a packet and we get the sign-offs from the health department, land use, and they're usually routine because of the litigation and it was so protracted. This has been more of a challenge, I think, for staff to deal with because we want to make sure that the applicant is in total compliance with our codes. And that goes without saying. So, the application is now complete, the background check was done from our end, other than the land use component. There's nothing else from our end that's required. But, I just checked with the state's attorney just 5 minutes ago because, this has been going for some time and I didn't know what the latest status was myself, frankly.
So you cannot, the executive's office, an executive who's also our liquor commissioner, he cannot issue that license until they're in compliance, correct?
Correct. Because, you set the standards, we issue the license based on those standards. Now, we have some independent authority in terms of character and those kinds of things, and that's why we have, the background check and the fingerprinting, but that's all been done. This is the only outstanding issue.
So then still, we can make a license available in a particular category. It sits there until an applicant meets all compliance standards.
That's correct.
Okay, and this amendment, number 4, is just to put a license in that particular category.
Correct.
Can I ask a question? If we put that application, if we put that forward, does it give other people an opportunity to apply for it?
If they meet all the compliance standards and came forward and said, I understand there's a license available, I met everything, they could, yes, if they put one into that category.
Thank you.
Yeah, theoretically it's possible. Right now this is the only one, but none of us can predict the future. But this has been an ongoing process with this.
Take them to get in compliance, it could happen.
It's been on a stick, yeah.
You know, as you know, you control the number, and, you know, you control the classifications. You could do all that, and a liquor commissioner, whether it's a county executive or the mayor of Frankfurt or Elwood, could determine not to issue it. But we're just, you know, communicating that from our end, background check, everything else in that application, you know, meets the criteria of the statute and Will County ordinances.
Motion, amend chapter 110.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Confirming award of contract to deconstruction. We're into the committees here.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Confirming award to P.T. Farrell for County Board Districts 5, 12, and 13.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Confirming award of contract to Gallagher Asphalt Corporation. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance amending Chapter 73, no parking areas and parking schedules in Will County for all board districts.
Vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Authorizing an IGA with Metro Railroad Police to provide access to the countywide radio system. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Authorizing an IGA with the Village of Orland to provide access to the countywide radio system.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
IGA with Naperville for household hazardous waste.
Move.
Second.
Okay. And then for number 12, it turns out that they, sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Thank you, the motion carries. For number 12, we need a motion to remove.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can I ask a question? What was it supposed to mean? I mean, because there was no information.
Why would they?
Mary?
So the Lincoln School is an alternative school program. There are clerical employees there that are not eligible for a pension. So there was, the feeling that that's not fair. The teachers, the certified employees there are in the teachers' pension. So they were seeking to join IMRF through the county, but as we did the research, they are not eligible to be members of IMRF unless they are employees of the Regional Office of Education, and at this time they are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. So number 13, establishing Ad-Hoc Housing Solutions Committee.
Vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Question? Sure.
I'm still trying to kind of get my head around, what are they gonna do? I mean, I hear, I happen to think that you're looking at affordable housing. On all the government agencies in Cook County, I don't think there's anyone who does more to promote affordable housing. This seems like it's going to go beyond what we do. I mean, looking to change zoning ordinances, so so more than one family can live in a house, or whatever, which changes the character of neighborhoods. I mean, and I know, I've talked to them on this. I mean, and it's like, well, we don't know necessarily where this will go. But I still have to express some concern. What do you think would come out of this that would take action from the county that we're already not doing? I mean, so I know this will go forward, but I'm still going to express some concern about the purpose of this.
Okay.
And it's difficult for me to vote for something I don't really know what it's going to do. what the purpose of it is.
Thank you. And Amanda's here, she's the one who asked for this committee, so if you would say, not only for the purpose of Jim, but for all those in the room, what it is you expect this committee to do.
Thanks. I did work this out with Mary and Denise, and we kind of whittled it down to exactly what this is, just to be clear, because Modern Housing Solutions isn't a very robust title, right? And they're going to have a short name. So the method here, the idea behind the committee is to get the core group of Will County board members, that's your standard group, that will work with various county agencies, departments, and so on to complete the task. And what is the task? Through data analysis, discussion, and expert input, create housing opportunities that better fit modern lifestyles to diversify the county with a focus on younger people, because it's currently a very small demographic in our county. However, the target being young professionals and young families, it will also benefit many other groups, to include seniors, creating these different types of housing opportunities. So, basically we're trying to tackle the issue of attractive, affordable, and functional housing in Will County. And it's a really big lift, it's a big scope, and it was set up that way so that we did have some room to figure out what might work. And then once the committee comes up with some ideas, then those things will move forward and will come through the county board as a whole and so on.
So then those recommendations then would come to the appropriate agencies, for instance, City of Joliet, maybe, CDBG, maybe some township organizations?
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Just trying to get clear myself.
So
Go ahead.
here again, first, I'm going to make an assumption here now. So you make an assumption there's a need. I can make an assumption there's not a need. There's something just using this for discussion. Doesn't mean I don't believe there's a need or not. But let's just assume, what you're proposing, there really isn't a need, unless you're going to kind of create it. I mean, I'd like to first see what the need is in the county. So I mean, it's kind of like, you need to see what the need is before you can move forward. So I assume that's what you're going to do initially.
Right, so this is supposed to be a data-driven committee. So the first thing we'll do is identify the areas that would need this type of housing, how many people are we trying to attract, what are their needs, and then go from there. So that's why I want it to be an ad hoc committee and not in land use committee, let's say, because then we'll have 3-hour, 4-hour additional land use committees.
So the committee will say, here again, I'm just using an example. There's not enough of X amount of housing in Bolingbrook, or there's not X amount of type of housing in Frankfurt. I mean, I can go and say, well, there's a bigger need for rental units because more people seem to want to rent, especially other people rather than home. So it's probably to go throughout the whole entire county and say, well, there's not enough rental units. So that's the type of thing you think you'd be doing?
Maybe. I really don't know what the solution is going to be.
See, I guess that's my biggest concern. You don't know.
And so you say the solution, but is that the kind of thing you will be looking at?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I mean, it may be rentals, it may be different communities, it may be integrating into communities. But the idea of saying, well, we're not sure if there's a problem, so we shouldn't look at this at all, doesn't really roll with me. I think that it's important that we look and see. If we decide, we have all the housing we need here, there's not a problem at all, well then at least we set up the committee and we now know that. And we can walk tall and say, well, we didn't have a problem.
Yeah. But quite frankly, I don't see it as an issue. And I like to live in Beverly Hills. I'm not going to find housing in Beverly Hills, California. I like to live in California, but I'm not going to find any housing in California.
Jackie?
So I used the word affordable housing recently in front of a municipality's board meeting, and they proceeded to tell me, and I'm a realtor, by the way, so I have access to all this information. They proceeded to tell me that there were hundreds of homes available in their community in the $75,000 to $100,000 range. I went and checked the multiple listing service. There were 0 homes available in that range. So I think if you, as a committee, do nothing else, if we just have a way to get information out there and educate people about what the housing costs are, I think we will have succeeded as a committee and as a board. I did the math Reasonable priced apartment in Bolingbrook is approximately $1,500 a month. And that doesn't count renter's insurance or utilities or anything like that. That is $18,000. If you are earning $12 an hour, which is above minimum wage, you're making $24,000. I'm sorry, I can't figure out how to buy groceries and utilities and transportation for $6,000 a year. It's just, so I shy away from the word affordable, and what I want to talk about is attainable. Housing that people can attain. Because affordable is relative to where you live and what your income is. And like you said, I don't want to live in Beverly Hills or San Diego, but I can't afford to live there. So that's not an attainable place for me. But attainable housing, safe housing, both construction-wise and neighborhood-wise, and I just think there's a lot to it. And if we do nothing else but educate municipal government about what they really have available in their communities, then I think we will have succeeded.
Judy?
So I think that I've sat in a lot of municipal, and the involvement of the trustees versus us as board members is truly significantly different. But the biggest problem in affordability comes in is the property taxes. And the property taxes in each community is really dogged down by the school taxes, because that is the majority of the taxes. And at no point, not us, because we don't have anything to do with that, but our state has not done anything to try and help curb that. Okay, they put together all these unfunded mandates from Springfield that the school system has to do. They've now gone and opened up and allowed the pensions for the teachers to just go to whatever the heck they want. And that is where the problem comes in, is they in Springfield have to help us out with this. Because if they give the right to the school systems to give teachers all these different types of raises at the end of their tenure and add on to their retirement fund, which costs every one of us in this room extra money, and costs each little town so much money, that is where the problem is. So the problem is in Springfield. It's hard for us to solve here because the property tax is so high. And we see that constantly, and there's movement in Springfield is nothing more than to keep increasing taxes, which makes it harder for somebody, because you're right, my daughter's moving back from the state of Washington, and they are looking for a home, and they can expect hopefully to get a home for $800 to $1,000. That's really pushing their budget, and they're both working in the house. So you're right, it's really hard for young people to live anywhere. How do you fix that? I don't know how you fix it, because the people who own the homes have to charge that rent to pay the property taxes and the cost that the village incurs on, like there's a rental program, you got to pay a fee for your house to get inspected if you rent it. That's a really hard thing.
Right, and that's kind of the idea here, is bringing together all these different ideas, because that's something that I had not specifically thought about, although we haven't met as a committee yet. And everybody has a different idea of how to solve it. We have a lot of committees that lead up to state level, politicians. We have a lot of departments as a county, and I think that the county board, elected officials, actually taking a little control here and looking at the problem could really help some of these issues. So maybe we decide we want to put something through legislative committee or whatever. This will offer us an opportunity to do that, and I hope that I get to see you at the committee talking about some of that stuff.
Trying to make all the
The other comment I want to make, Jackie, you mentioned, the average rent in Bolingbrook is $1,500 for a two-bedroom apartment. The truth is that that's what it costs on the private side. I mean, they put in a building, it costs X amount of dollars, they need to get X amount of return, they have X amount of expenses. And there's no getting away from that. I mean, it costs what it costs.
I haven't seen their books, but I'll agree.
But in general, somebody might be getting a 10% return, somebody might be getting a 15% return. But my point is that, there's a return on their investment. And they have to be competitive in the marketplace, or they'll have an empty building. The things that have been successful in this county, in this country, is when there's some type of incentive that either comes from the federal or state government. Now, that's the truth. Now it's not all, it's not Section 8, it's not, some, you'll get vouchers, and you don't know who they are because they can go anywhere. The vouchers, you know, some are done through tax credits, which we've done through our programs here with HUD, helped promote some of that. So I mean, those are the programs that we know work. You know, I don't know, outside of getting those programs expanded, we're giving some kind of incentive to property owners, so they're gonna get their return. You know, I mean, maybe the county says you won't, well, there's different outlines, so you don't pay taxes on it. But my point is that maybe there are some other ways. We should keep in mind that, you know, without some type of incentives from the federal or state government to help bring down the cost or their carrying costs or interest costs or whatever, you know, I don't see there's anything a county can do except, you know, continue to advocate for different types of programs. You know, now if the county wants to create a program, and I think at one time, I don't know if Ron Pullman spoke the room, but okay. I know years ago there were some programs we did at the county. I'm pointing that out because there are some things the county can do. But I'm just saying that I don't know what other solutions there are out there. Because even if you ask for more apartments, they're going to want a return on their investment. So that's all I'm going to say. I'll probably.
So the work of the
I'll probably be a pain in your neck, but
it sounds like we're going to do the work of the committee here, and that committee is dedicated to figure out what those solutions might be and what those recommendations may be. Julie and then Rachel.
You may have one already. I was wondering if there's a description of the committee and the goals, and then your plan of implementation, what your ideas are to go about to achieve those goals. If it's, I would love to see that, and then also I'll look for the information on your future meetings. I don't think it's out because I haven't seen it.
I have not scheduled any meetings yet because it hasn't been approved, and I was actually told by the state attorney that we don't typically have a description for an ad hoc committee. So, although I kind of put something out to let board members know what my intent was with it, it's not an official description, but I'd be happy to talk with you more about it later, or to have you come visit.
Yeah, definitely. This is a very complicated issue. And part of the problem you have is, my initial question is, well, does the county intend to purchase the property to implement this, or are we approaching private owners or cities? That's where it gets complicated, because a person who owns a property, they've got to pay property taxes, and we all know unless we can reform our pensions and our school boards, those taxes aren't going to go down. So an individual more than likely can't reduce the rent if they can't cover the mortgage. So, and then also the municipalities within that government, you know, how do we approach a developer and say, well, I know you want to put $400,000 homes, but we want you to put $150,000 homes. So it's pretty complicated.
It is extremely complicated, and that's why I think it's owed a committee to actually put some time into figuring out the different things we can do. I don't have an idea of what the end of this is.
Well, unless we can get some funding from other sources, or the county, it is difficult.
Well, that's the work of the committee, is to do that. So as Amanda said, you're welcome to join. Come and sit in so that you can begin to work those issues in that committee. Rachel.
Yeah, I was going to say it's clear just from the questions and concerns that have been brought up in this room that a committee is needed to discuss the ins and outs of this. But also I would remind everyone that the CED recently did a study and presented it to realtors and other business owners as well as government officials, talking about the fact that between the ages of 24 to 35, our population has significantly decreased, and a lot of that has to do with the housing. And they were encouraging people to invest in more housing growth. So I would even look at this from an economic development standpoint, that we should find out what the answers to the questions. Why are we losing that population? And what are the housing issues? And not just from a state level. There's a lot of decisions that go into why someone moves. And this would allow us to look at those in a very earnest way and then see, are there solutions the county has to present? Are there government entities that we need to work together on? And so I absolutely support a committee like this, and for all the people who had questions and concerns like Judy and Julie and Jim, those are great things to bring to the committee. I think that's why this is needed. Thank you.
Did you have anything else, Amanda?
No, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to getting started.
Thank you.
Denise?
Steve, I hear you.
Stand up.
Steve?
One of the things when you're talking about that is if you want to get affordable housing, so to speak, you have to change the land use rules.
Let me stop you, because that work needs to happen in that committee. They're going to have that discussion there, you can join that.
Everybody else was saying, and I was just
I
pointing
know,
out
so
that
we've gone there.
$12 an hour, you
Let's
can't
work
afford
it in
the
the
taxes,
committee,
let
please.
alone, and then you have to change all the codes to do it.
Work it in the committee, please.
We have a motion and a second to establish.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next one is establishing the Ad-Hoc Census Committee. That's a complete count committee. Just make sure that we get everything that's coming to us in the next census.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Jim?
You know, and I brought this up before, but basically the committee is going to work with who? I mean, and usually I would say this is an executive or a function, not a legislative function. I mentioned it before. And, so here again, I'm not exactly sure what this committee would do. Certainly, there's a lot of folks out there, townships, municipalities, and so forth, are out there pushing. I'm the only one to keep it down. And certainly we have all counted in the unincorporated area. But it seems to me that is done a little bit more effectively locally and more from an executive function, working with municipalities, townships, and so forth. So here again, I just ask, you know, what do you think the committee is going to do outside of, you know, a set of guidelines for the executive's office? Usually, and I've worked with the census folks on a township level, trying to get everybody counted. So, so it's not that I'm for it. I'm just wondering, is this the most effective way of doing it? So obviously we want to participate. So that's my question.
So the committee then will be responsible for pulling together GIS as a part of that. This is not a legislative function, that is true. Looking through all the complete count data, the state recommendations around complete counts, and what's required for us to have a complete count commission so that we get what we have coming. They would not be doing that, obviously, the hands-on enumerations or anything like that. A lot of the work will be done by GIS. There may be opportunities for that committee to help getting the word out in neighborhood organizations. The Spanish Center has already agreed to work with them on that. There are any number of neighborhood organizations here in town, in other communities. They may be doing some marketing work in terms of the other townships, things like that. So they have not put all of that together yet, and Mike and Mark have gone through all the documents, or will be going through all the documents. They'll lead that committee. So as they read through all of that and figure out what's needed, they'll have a more complete picture of the work we're going to have to do. But Mike Shea has already designated someone to be involved, and they'll be an active part of the commission.
The only thing I would say, Denise, is very often, it's the census people who come and ask for the data. You know, it's not like they don't know what they want. You know, here again, or typically they would go to the executive and say, this is the data we want, well, you know, so forth and so on. It wouldn't necessarily come from a committee. I'm looking to make sure that this flows well and doesn't get bogged down in the committee. Is my concern. So, here again, I think it's an executive function, I mean, I think that the Census Bureau folks should understand, they go right to the county executive to get their data, is that it's under his authority and it's under the executive branch of government, so.
If you're asking, we have
I'm
to
trying not to
support-
get a conflict between what I think is going to be county board function and executive function, because I do think it's an executive function.
Thank you.
That's all.
If you're asking if we have the support of the county executive's office, that answer is yes. Did you have? No.
That's not.
Motion?
We have a motion and a
Oh,
second.
okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, number 15, new hires for the 911 emergency system.
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
A replacement hire for land use.
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Replacement hire for the supervisor of assessments office.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have replacement hire for Sunny Hill.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's see. Proclamations, do we have anything?
One, recognizing Deborah Alexander, a Sunny Hill employee, as the most senior employee of the county.
That's the only one.
That's the only one. Okay, and then we have appointments for the county executive. For County Board District 3, that person will be seated, will be sworn and seated on the 18th. That will be Margaret Tyson. Let's see here.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That was for number 1. For number 2, boards and commissions.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so then we're at the update from Jeff.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Since Public Works was canceled, I hope everyone enjoyed their 4th of July. The last committee, we talked about the jurisdictional transfer of Exchange Street and moving that forward. They had a request for financial support as part of that, so I committed to finding out what the numbers were because we did not know what that was yet. So I said I would bring that back before bringing the agreement forward. I have talked to them. They requested an amount which was rather high, but we did come to an agreement at 10% of the cost of the overlay, which is what I kind of presented at committee. I thought that would be reasonable. They did agree to that, so that's about $62,000. So we're working that into the agreement and hope to bring that forward in August. So if there's any objection to that number, now's the time for me to change it, but I think that is a reasonable request.
Where was this street at?
This is Exchange Street in University Park. It's down to 1¼ miles. We actually had it a number of years ago, and now we're taking it back.
Questions on that?
And then if I may, usually each month I will tell the committee, I bring the notice of any closures that are coming up. Since we didn't have a July meeting, there are a couple that are coming up real quick. July 22nd through July 26th, CN is scheduled to close Gouger Road, just south of the Lincoln Way High School there. So it'll be a railroad closure there. And then starting August 5th, the county, our project is scheduled to close Arsenal Road between Baseline and Brandon throughout probably the end of the year. So those are the tentative schedules for those closures.
Jeff, there was some concern with that, with the last project that you just mentioned, with some people in my district wondering if we are going to try to designate that as a new truck route. Do you have any comments or?
That would be up to the county board to designate truck routes. I have no information or understanding that that is the case.
Okay.
This part of doing this project does not make it a county truck route.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, well, we did have, the IGA that was on the, can you table that before long?
Yeah, it's on county board.
Okay, so, then we need to move it off?
No.
No, just as a point of information.
Yeah.
Then, and you all were at the Forest Reserve meeting earlier, the IGA with, Minoka Shanahan from McEvely Road was approved there. That was adding them as one of the payers on that, so they pick up a portion of, they pick up half of what was allotted to us before. So we'll be bringing our portion of that forward for the county board. Mary, do we have anything with you for opinion? Okay. Can move all the committees forward to county board?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's see here. Any public comment? Public left anyway. We don't need an executive session, right? Okay. Anything else come before the body? No? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?